welcome or welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Katharine, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking you along a little free library trip. For those who don't know what little free libraries are, they're basically like these little houses, I guess you would say, that look like they're mailboxes. So they're usually like on a stand, and this little house on a stand is what's called a little free library, and basically it's like an exchange of books. So usually these like little free libraries, these houses on stands with books inside, basically like you can bring a book, and then if you bring a book you can take a book, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. For some reason I always get the wording wrong, so I made sure to look up what the exact title of these little free libraries are. For some reason I always want to call them free little libraries, but they're actually called little free libraries. And I'm actually going a little bit outside of what I normally go to in terms of the little free libraries, because there are some that I like go to on a regular basis, like around my hometown, but I wanted to get out of, I guess, my comfort zone, because I don't know if it's really my comfort zone, but I just wanted to try new little free libraries. So I decided to go on the app. They actually do have an app, and they have like a map of where all of these different little free libraries are. So let me show you the ones that I chose to go to today. I'm gonna go ahead and get my phone and screen record where we're going. So we're currently at the first little free library that I'm going to today, and that is right here. It's Darlene DeCourcy. I think that's the person who owns it. That's her full name, but it's at 2 Old Town Road in Beverly, Massachusetts. And if we click on the actual little free library, it will give us like the charter number. So it's charter number 76327. And then the next one that I'm going to is the Little Band Book Barn, and that is at 3 Eagle Lane in Beverly, Massachusetts, and that is charter number 173833. And then the next one that we're going to is Crystal Row. I think that's also the name of the person who owns this little free library, and it doesn't have like an exact location or address for this specific one, but it says it's on Albany Circle in Beverly, Massachusetts, and it's charter number 62126. And I'm going to all 3 of these because I do have 3 books that I will be exchanging today. So I'll be putting 1 book in each of these little free libraries. So let me show you the books that I am going to be putting in these little free libraries today, and hopefully I can get 3 books back that I find in these little free libraries. So let's start out with the books that I'm going to be putting in. So 2 of them are Christmas books, and then 1 is a Christian fiction book. And there's nothing wrong technically with any of these books. I gave all of them like 3 to 3.5 stars, but I'm the type of psychopath that only keeps books on my shelves that are 4 stars and up, and that I can foresee myself reading, or rereading I should say, in the future. And these are just like books that are forgettable, or I had a couple problems with, and they were just like sort of average or mid or meh, however you want to describe it. And I just don't foresee myself rereading these, and I'll recommend them to people, but like they weren't like my all-time favorite books of all time, if that makes sense. So let me show you the Christmas books first. I should also mention I'm not like a huge Christmas book person. I discovered that within the past like year or so that I'm like not a big like Christmas book person. I am a seasonal reader. I do love to read seasonally and also by my mood. So I am a seasonal reader on top of being a mood reader, so that makes it fun for me, I guess. But anyway, I noticed that I specifically don't like Christmas books that much unless they're like classic Christmas books or like widely popular Christmas books. I'm not like a big fan, I guess I should say, of like the rom-com-y or the one-off type Christmas books, because I feel like authors will just write Christmas books just to write a Christmas book, if you know what I mean, instead of just writing what they normally write. And that's kind of the reason why I had problems with these two specific Christmas books, because I just didn't have a fun time reading them. Well, I guess I had a fairly fun time reading them, but they were just like, okay. They're not something to like write home about, if that makes sense. The Christmas books that I do actually like are like things like The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens or Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Even though Little Women technically isn't like a Christmas book, it has scenes of like Christmas and winter in New England, and things like The Nutcracker, and I'll read those types of books, but like in terms of these types of books that I'm going to show you, I'm just like not a big fan of these like one-off rom-com-y type Christmas books, and I don't foresee myself rereading these in the future or reading things that are similar to this at all, ever. So the first one is Waiting for Christmas by Lynn Austen. I know some of you are probably yelling at me through the screen right now, because this was kind of a popular book within this past Christmas season in 2024, because Lynn Austen is a very well-beloved Christian fiction author, and this was my first book by her. I haven't read any of her other books, but I thought I would read this book because, first of all, it's really short. It's like under 300 pages. It's like 250 pages, I think, around that. So I thought this would be like a quick read and an introduction into her writing. And she normally writes like Christian historical fiction, which I love. Christian historical fiction. It's like probably my all-time favorite genre. But I just had a few problems with this book that I'm not going to like go too much into. You can watch my December reading wrap-up, which I'll tag in the description below. But basically this is just kind of average to me. Like, I feel like it was written as if it was in modern times. Like, a lot of the things that were taking place or talked about in this book, it felt like it could have just been in 2025 or 2024 instead of 1901, which it was supposed to be taking place. And it was just kind of like average too. It was just mid, and like I just wasn't really connected to the characters or the plot. At the end, I did kind of get a heartwarming feeling because there was like a happily ever after. Not a happily ever after, but there was a fairly heartwarming ending to it. It was okay, but I don't foresee myself rereading this. I will try other Lynn Austen books, but like this does not need to be on my shelf because I won't be rereading this, and it was honestly just not my favorite. It was kind of honestly forgettable, to be honest. And then the second Christmas book that I'm getting rid of is Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters, and this was almost like a Christian romantic suspense book with some Christmas theming. Obviously, the cover is really Christmassy, as you can tell. This book honestly made me realize that I'm not like a huge Christian romantic suspense or Christian suspense or just suspense in general type of reader. I just really enjoy historical books, especially when they involve romance or Christian theming, and this just was not it for me. I'm not like a big contemporary person either, and this takes place like in modern times, and it was okay. Like, it did have like some heartwarming aspects to it as well, along with the last book that I just talked about, but like I just saw it as average. It was kind of just mid, and a lot of like the political stuff, well, not so much political, but like just the suspense aspects, I was just like, first of all, confused by, and secondly, it was just like not my cup of tea. Like, I just honestly could care less about the suspense aspect. I cared more about the romance, but I'm getting rid of this one. Actually, both of these books were supposed to be read for a book club, and I did finish both of these books, but I ended up not going to the meetings for the book club. So I just think that maybe that had something to do with it, because like maybe I felt like I was forced to read these books, that I didn't end up enjoying them as much as I wanted to. But I'm getting rid of these 2 Christmas books nonetheless, if I can speak the English language correctly. I don't know why I added like an extra T at the end of that word. But the last book that I'm going to be getting rid of is a book that I really don't want to get rid of, because I really expected to enjoy this book way more than I actually did, and that is Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. I heard that Rachel Fordham is like a really great historical fiction, specifically Christian historical romance writer, and I really want to read other books by her, but this book just did not live up to what I was described to as like what this was about. It just like reminded me of like Redeeming Love, but like the very mediocre version of Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. I felt like it was trying too hard to be Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, which, by the way, is like one of my favorite books of all time, but it just like didn't meet that level of how Francine Rivers writes and like the plot line and everything. It just seemed really cheesy and just like super underdeveloped. It was okay. Like I gave it 3.5 stars. The other 2 books I gave 3 stars, but this, the only reason why I gave it 3.5 stars instead of 3 stars is because the ending did have good messaging. Like I could see where the author was trying to take it, and I did like glean some inspiration, I guess you would call it, or lessons that I learned from this, but like it just felt like a mediocre version of Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. But those are the 3 books that I am going to be bringing to the 3 separate 3 little libraries, or little free libraries. It's little free libraries, not free little libraries. I always want to call it free little libraries, but it's little free libraries. And of course, I already showed you which ones I'm going to. I'm at the first one right now, so I'm going to film myself putting them in and see what books are in this one. Just put 1 book into each of these little free libraries and see what I find. So let's go. Louise, okay, I didn't realize that first little free library was gonna take me through like piles of snow, but I made it. I'm like out of breath now. But I ended up putting Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham in there, and I ended up finding like a lot of books in that specific little free library. I know you're only really supposed to like take as many books as you put in, but that little free library was actually pretty full, so you know what, I see it as myself doing a favor to that, so I could clear out a little bit more so that people can clearly see the books that are in there. But I only got 1 book for myself, to be honest. To be fair, I only got 1 book for myself, and then I got all of these other children's books for my job. So basically, I changed jobs, for those who don't know. I used to be my church's thrift store manager, but now I work for my church's Christian school. I'm a preschool assistant. So whenever I go to these little free libraries, I always try to keep an eye out for like children's books, because their like library is like technically all donated books. So whenever I find children's books, I try to snatch them at these little free libraries. So this is the book that I got for myself. It's actually in pretty good condition. It's called Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortland. And so basically I think this is just like a Christian nonfiction, like a Christian like life book, if that makes sense. I've heard nothing but great things about this book. I actually used to work at christianbook.com as a customer service representative, so I've heard nothing but good things about this book. When like people would call in and order, they said nothing but good things about this book, and I've, you know, seen it all over booktube and bookstagram and book talk as well, so thought I would add this to my like Christian nonfiction TBR, if that makes sense. I don't have many on my TBR, but I guess I would add this one since I found it in the little free library. And these are the children's books that I found. One is called Winter According to Humphrey by Betty G. Burney. I don't know. I thought it was cute. I'd never heard of this book before. I just saw that it had a frog, a little hamster, and a snowman on it, and I thought this would be a cute little book to have at the school. And I've never heard of this book either. It's called Third Grade Detectives Number 1. I thought this would be a cute little book to have at the school. I don't know. I feel like when I was that age, like I feel like this is like a second or third grade reading level. I feel like that this would be a book that I would have been interested in at that age. And then these two other books are iconic books that I've actually heard of. So it's the first 4 books in the Magic Tree House by Mary Pope Osborne, and I thought that this would be a great addition to the library. I don't know if they have this already. I feel like they might, but always could have duplicates just in case like one kid is reading one book and they have another kid who wants to read the same book. Might as well have duplicates just in case that sort of thing happens. So this is books 1 through 4, like I mentioned, in the Magic Tree House series. This is obviously a very popular children's book series. I remember reading a few of these when I was a kid, and I loved them. And then another iconic one is the Elf on the Shelf book by Carol V. Abersold and Chanda A. Bell, and I hope I pronounced the author's names correctly, but I feel like a lot of people know what the Elf on the Shelf is, and this is the book that goes along with it, so I thought I would get this one as well. But yeah, those are the books that I got from the first Little Free Library. Now let's go to the second Little Free Library. I am currently actually listening to The Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first book in the Lord of the Rings series right now. I got the audiobook off of Libby, which is that library app. So if you put in like your library card number, it will automatically like get you library books through this app. And I'm listening to the audiobook of The Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first book in the Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I'm liking it so far. I'm about 61% of the way through, and it's all about the vibes. I feel like the Lord of the Rings, like, is just about, like, the vibes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a 5-star read for me because, like, I'm not a big fantasy reader, but I'm just here for a good time. So I'm going to be listening to this audiobook as I'm going to the different Little Free Libraries. So I just got out of going to the second Little Free Library, and I brought Waiting for Christmas to that one by Lynn Austen, and I ended up taking 2 books from this Little Free Library. And again, I know that it's kind of based off of like how many you put in there is how many you should take out, but to be fair, again, these books are not for me. I got 2 children's books that I'm going to bring to the school, and the first one is Little House on the Prairie, and it does have like some markings up here. I don't even know what that is. It might be like paint or marker or something like that, but I'm going to try to get that off, and it's in really good condition, to be honest. Other than that little thing up here, I'm going to try to get that off. I'm sure I can get it off with some like water and like a paper towel or something like that. And then the second book that I got, I never heard of this book before, but it looked pretty appropriate to be at a school. It's called The Undersea Adventures of Digby Dolphin. I don't know who this is by. Yeah, it doesn't say who it's by. Let me see. Oh, it says right here, written by Drew DeMatteis. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But it just looks like an adventure of like a dolphin in the ocean. So I thought I would bring this by the school as well. But let's head to the last and final Little Free Library. I'm having a lot of fun with this. So I just went to the last and final Little Free Library and I found the jackpot. I brought over the book Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters, and I found a bunch of kids books. I did not get one thing for myself from this Little Free Library. Again, I got more than one book. I know I'm supposed to only take like how many books I put in, but like I mentioned before, these books are not for me. They're for the school I work for, and all of the books that they have in their library are donated books, so I'm getting it for a good cause, okay? So the first 3 books I want to show you are books 1, 3, and 5 in the Mysterious Benedict Society series. I believe that's what the series is called. And so the first book is called The Mysterious Benedict Society. It's by Trenton Lee Stewart. The third book is called The Extraordinary Education of Nicholas Benedict. And the 5th book is called The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Prisoner's Dilemma. Hopefully I can find books 2 and 4, because those are what is missing from this series. So these are books 1, 3, and 5 in the Mysterious Benedict Society series. I'm just missing books 2 and 4, so hopefully I can find those at like a thrift store or another Little Free Library. The next book that I want to show you is The One and Only Ivan. I personally just loved the gorilla and the elephant on the cover, and for some reason I've heard about this book before, but I don't know how or when or why, but I've heard good things, I'm assuming, about this book. That's why I've heard about it. But this is by Katharine Applegate, so got this for the school too. I also got Love Your Neighbor by Arthur Gobrin. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I also got Going to the Firehouse by Mercer Mayer. This one is probably my favorite find, and that's Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shovel. I actually got this for my new nephew who's going to be born this month, or not this month, soon. And I got this for the baby shower, and if I had known that it was in the Little Free Library, I probably would have gifted it, but honestly, this is a used copy and I wanted to give my new nephew a new copy, so this is going to go to the school. It's like one of my favorites. It's by Virginia Lee Burton. Any of Virginia Lee Burton's books are great. They're like really beautiful illustrations and like very just like great storylines. You can obviously tell they were like written like way back when in like the 20s and 30s, and I love all of Virginia Lee Burton's books. I also have A Pocket for Corduroy by Dawn Freeman, Lucy and Billy by Pauline Cartwright, The Age of Acorns by Robert Ingpen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The Ugly Duckling by Jerry Pinkney. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The Pokey Puppy. I don't know who this is by. It doesn't say, but it says that it's a golden book here on the back. The Pokey Little Puppy. I also got Upton by Brian Collier. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It says it's a signed copy right here, so yeah. Here it is, the signed copy. Yeah, that's really cool. And then the last book that I got from this very last Little Free Library is Kamala and Maya's Big Idea. This is by Mina Harris. But thank you so much for coming along today's adventure to the 3 Little Free Libraries that I went to. It was a lot of fun, even though there was a lot of snow that I had to trek over to get to these Little Free Libraries. I obviously got like a lot of books for the school that I work at. It's my church's school. It's like a private Christian school, and like I mentioned, all of the books there are donated in the library that they have. So the majority of the books that I got out of these Little Free Libraries are for the library at the school that I work at, and I only got one book for myself. So to be fair, I did take a lot of books. I only put like 3 books into these 3 separate little free libraries, so like 1 book in each, and I took way more than that. But to be fair, some of these little free libraries were very full, so I'm doing them a favor and freeing up some space so that people can easily look at the books and also donate more books. And then also, to be fair as well, like a lot of these books aren't for me, like the majority are for the school. I'm donating them, and I only got 1 book for myself. But anyway, thank you again for joining along today's adventure. I really appreciate you joining me. If you liked this video, please leave a book stack emoji down below so that way I know that you watched up until this point and that you would want to see more videos like this. But I had a lot of fun. Do all the YouTube things that you know how to do. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!